Hello, welcome to Moments with Atmospheric Vapor, the podcast dives deep into water technology. Today we are joined by a leadership team, Stephen Peters from Tsunami Products, a pioneer company in the field of atmospheric water harvesting. And we are your hosts. I'm Amin Mujiri from ASU. He's
Hello.
Shahnawaz Sinha from
Hello.
ASU. We are exploring the atmospheric water harvesting, the future of water harvesting from the air. Let's get started. Okay,
Yeah. Good morning.
first of all, thank you very much for joining us. May you please
hmm
introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Stephen Peters. I'm the CEO of Tsunami Products. We are a U.S. based manufacturer of atmospheric water generators, otherwise known as atmospheric water harvesters or atmospheric water extractors. And we are based out of Midland, Texas, but we manufacture all of our products outside of Spokane, Washington.
Oh,
Uh,
may you please give us an overview of a tsunami story?
mhm.
What is inspire you to focus on atmospheric water harvesting technology?
Yeah, we have a little different path into the industry. We were started in 2017 by our founding partner, Kevin Collins, who's come to be a great friend of ours. Uh, Kevin is an expert in manufacturing and has been in the manufacturing space for 40 years, starting several sheet metal and custom telecom manufacturing businesses. And they had done a contract job for a smaller atmospheric water harvester company. And that company had made a few pilot items and then went away. And they said, well, it's pretty neat technology. We could probably do something like that. So they created Tsunami in 2017 and patented our core technology and made the first few iterations. And then we came along as distributors, myself and my partner, our COO, Ryan Dykes. We started out as distributors for other manufacturers of the products. We thought it to be an incredible technology. I come from a technical sales background. Ryan comes from an industrial operations background. And we said, hey, this is a really neat technology that can actually help people. There's a ton of neat applications. Let's get into hardware. And so we started out distributing for different companies and found varying degrees of quality issues that we thought, and then found Tsunami and saw immediately just a huge bump in quality and a potential amazing partnership to be had with Kevin. And so a couple years later, here we are. We bought half the company and moved our offices down to Texas.
Let's talk about the challenges you face when getting started. How did you tackle or overcome them?
Yeah, the biggest challenge, there's a lot of them getting into this space, but the biggest one for us is just the unknown of the technology itself. That most people have no clue what atmospheric water harvesting is, and those who do, it's different exposure levels for different industries. And so, first off, is just education on the product. That's the huge hurdle that everyone tries to get past, especially when you're talking about water. Being based in the United States, water scarcity for a need as a life source just is pretty non-existent. We have amazing access to water. We have scarcity needs that we're going to have to deal with, but people aren't dying of dehydration daily in the U.S. And so, breaking into a commercialized market in the United States is definitely a different hurdle. So most of our business is outside of the United States. Um, so that was another one. But yeah, manufacturing a U.S. good has been a struggle because you're going into a space that is largely dominated in China with Chinese based or Indian based manufacturing. And so having US based items that we only utilize American made components, that's being able to drive down to an effective cost that's palatable for for a consumer, but also maintaining quality that we want to stand by and be competitive in the marketplace with.
Okay, let's talk technology.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain the core technology behind your atmospheric water harvesting generators? How they working?
Yeah, so we manufacture refrigeration-based atmospheric water harvesters. So we're not doing anything novel. We're not doing anything really unique. The only patented items we have in our machines are the evaporator and condenser coils themselves. But what we thrive at doing is, we're utilizing 120-year-old technology with refrigeration, over 40-year-old technology with dehumidification, and so we thrive on taking an existing item and optimizing it to be the very best it can. So, for example, for refrigeration-based atmospheric water harvesters, we're the most energy efficient in the world that we're aware of. And we do that by going and finding every component we can, working with the manufacturers when able to optimize the efficiency in their product to include into a very simple design that we have. We stand on the fact that our machines have a base purpose, and that is to make water. And so, how can we be more effective at doing that? We can handle the other parts of what kind of contents in the water, what filtration mediums we're using, what sanitation mediums we're using. Those are all secondary concerns. The biggest thing that we focus on is what is the simple and most effective way to make water.
Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
What distinguishes your company or your technology from other on the market? What do you think about it?
Yeah, the first one is that always comes up is energy efficiency. So less power used per gallon of water produced. I know that varies by the climate you're in, how much water is being generated, and what the cost of electricity is. Are you using an off-grid item? But as far as the actual amount used versus water produced, that efficiency, we're based in the United States and we only use USA-made components. That's a huge difference for us, especially when working with the Department of Defense, which we're very proud and excited to be doing. Um, but several other items. We own our own manufacturing, and so that's allowed us to be able to recognize when the market dictates that a feature on a product or a capability of a product isn't acceptable. We're able to immediately address that and re-engineer that ourselves by owning our manufacturing.
Every innovative technology faces challenges. What are specific obstacles you encounter in scaling and deploying your systems?
Um, there's a list of those, and some of them are application based, some of them are regional based. Uh, for us, the products that we currently manufacture, we focus on more humid regions because that's where we thrive. We're very good at making a lot of water in wet places that have no access to potable water or have compromised water logistics or any other reason. So working in arid and semi-arid climates is our Achilles heel right now, but we're working in the market to try and mediate that for us. Outside of that is in the United States, again, we're so used to turning on our faucet and there being water available. Well, around the world, there's a lot of regions, with a lot of countries we're working with in the Caribbean. They've had better supplies of fresh and potable water, but those pockets are turning more brackish. And so the access and the mentality of having a level of water availability is diminishing. And so we're trying to tackle a solution to that that's able to be implemented without having to invest in large amounts of infrastructure or really change a whole lot of a current standard of living.
Water shortage and water
Mm-hmm.
scarcity is a pressing issue, global issue. How do your company, your products contribute to tackle this issue, especially in arid region like Arizona, Texas, Utah?
Yeah, so we're working in arid regions. Like I was saying, we're working to try and develop new products that work better in an arid region. Um, but tackling water scarcity in areas like Texas. For example, in South Texas, we are working with a few different groups where there is a lot of humidity present and there's a large influx of population in the region, but there's no infrastructure to handle it. And so there is a critical need for water immediately, but there is a long amount of time and a massive amount of capital that has to be invested to be able to help serve those areas. And so we're able to tackle that in an immediate way. In other ways is being able to offer decentralized solution for water, and whether that be for life sustaining purposes or whether that be for continuous delivery.
Okay, let's talk about the future perspective.
Mhm.
Shahnawaz, may you please handle this part?
Thank you, Stephen. Lots of
Yeah.
information, great
Yeah.
information that you shared with us. So on the future perspective, I have like two questions, and then the market dynamics, I have two more.
Okay.
So on the future future perspective, my question is, what ingredient do you have in your toolbox that you think are important and critical for your company to make a leap of creating more business for your company in the future?
I think I love to cook.
Okay.
And so being able to add certain things that really make a certain dish pop, what is that secret spice? So for us, that is being able to be more efficient. Again, that's at the heart of everything we do, is driving efficiency. But being able to pair efficiency and create efficiency of offering multi-use items. And so we've been developing a product that we're really excited to talk about, and I think it's fitting to be for the International Atmospheric Water Harvesting Association's podcast to talk about it. But we're launching a new product called the Typhoon. That's an indefinitely modular and scalable item that produces a lot of water along with cold air. And so it's designed to be used for either a home all the way scaled up to data centers and large distribution warehouses
Okay.
for larger water and cooling needs. So, for example, each module is designed to generate 400 gallons of water per day, along with 7.5 tons of cool air. And so it uses a different refrigeration technology than we currently do, but it should as well expand our operational parameters to where we can access more areas in the world.
So you could provide both cooling and also making water
Mhm.
with this technology.
Absolutely.
So
So
I like your naming, Tsunami and then now Typhoon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is great. So what the future product names will be? Have you decided? Yeah.
For that one, it will be the Typhoon. For
Typhoon.
anything
Okay.
else past that, I don't know.
Okay.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really scalable. We were doing a scale model of a large distribution size warehouse. I think Amazon's are like on average 800,000 square feet, but we did one that was 750,000 square feet. And so having a ton of cooling per 500 square feet, we did a 1,500 ton cooling item that would have 200 of our modules on the roof, taking up just this kind of comically small amount of space. But that would also generate 80,000 gallons of water per day, just being on the roof of one distribution center.
I have one more question, like as part of the future perspective, this is a grim reality. The climate
Mhm.
is changing, our world is warming, and also the future for fresh water is also in a higher demand. So my question is like, where do you see your technology could play a role in an environment like that?
Yeah, there's several immediate responses that we're addressing. So one of them is it reduces waste. Just the amount of so for a drinking side of it, the amount of single-use plastics that are reduced by utilizing atmospheric water harvesting is just by an order of magnitude. If it's ever in a drinking water application, it's just not comparable on a waste side. Um, for You're reducing emissions by having reduced logistics. So by decentralizing your water needs, particularly in logistically constrained environments. So think islands, for example. We're going to hope we're planning to pilot the Typhoon in a Caribbean country.
I think this is good. I mean, your perspective, the way you're coming back,
Mhm.
is like plastic pollution reduction, climate change, CO2 carbon emission reduction.
Yeah.
So this is a good thing. Like the way you're doing it. Even plastic bottle usage among people would decrease. If you have this type of a system.
Mhm.
I think this is a good point.
Yeah, another way is reducing emissions just via logistics. So in logistically constrained environments such as smaller island nations, their water is going to be complied contractually a lot of times by a commercial reverse osmosis or desalination partner that they're going to be purchased this from. And so you're trucking this water and delivering it. That's just how it's done in most island nations. And so by utilizing AWH, you are eliminating those logistics completely.
Yes.
You're always the source point for that water. Why? Because you're capturing it, utilizing the 35 quintillion gallons of water that are always present in the Earth's atmosphere. And you're just recycling that back into the water cycle, so you're not affecting that. And if anything, you're reducing, if you were to do this at grand enough scale, reducing land-based humidity, which would, in theory, be a net positive on a climate impact.
Okay, this is good. On the market dynamics, I have two more questions for you. Thank you, Stephen, for that. So my first question is like the market is saturated with many atmospheric water harvester, and they're also bringing their own product into the market. So what would be your strategy, which is unique, to sell more of your products? What strategy are you taking for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we've approached it, and maybe that's because a lot of our approach has been, well, let's just throw something at the wall and see what sticks. But we deal mostly B2B and like B2G now, and those are the projects that we focus on. A lot of the competition that we face for refrigeration-based atmospheric water harvesters and generators are from smaller countertop style units made in China or India.
Yeah.
And so we don't look at those as direct competition just because our application is different. We do have individual clients that utilize our larger systems, but we typically focus on larger contract scale opportunities and how we can integrate in a larger way. So our manufacturing style and just the cost of manufacturing our goods, we would just have to do such a large volume of these smaller units that it's not what we really pursue.
So you focus mostly on a larger system?
Mostly larger
like
systems.
Countertop systems.
I don't think countertop systems are our focus. I think there's a place for them in the marketplace because that makes it a much lower barrier to entry for the average person to utilize this technology in their home, which it is the world's cleanest and most sustainable form of water. And so I absolutely want it to be in every home possible. But for us, as for what we manufacture, it's not what we really pursue. It's something that I would love to do one day. Maybe that's on the horizon for us at some point. But right now, we just focus on scale for commercial and industrial.
I think that's a good strategy. You're focusing on a very niche market, a larger scale devices that could capture the water.
So adding on that, even in first world nations, so in United States, there's growing water shortages all over, and especially for life-sustaining items. And so in the events of natural disasters and even just on a day-to-day basis, access to clean, safe drinking water is not available. And we aim to end that. And so tackling that in ways that are available in mass, we've got to work with larger businesses and we've got to work with the government to make that happen. And so we're working with quite a few different agencies to get our larger products involved so that there is a 24/7 supply of sustainable, clean, fresh drinking water available.
Okay. And one of my last question would be on the regulatory aspect. How do the regulatory and economic factor influence the adaptation of the atmospheric water harvester, adaptation of those type of technology? What do you think the barrier, and what are the things that you are more interested about that could help you in this market?
I think there's a couple of them. So for the U.S. side, I know in some states, such as California, there's been some regulatory issues on who owns the air, and that's a very hotly contested topic. I firmly believe that if we're not affecting the water cycle, it should be recyclable for everyone. So navigating through topics such as that are an issue. There is the National Science Foundation is taking a great step regulation-wise for atmospheric water harvesters with their new, I believe it's the P343 certification that guarantees that an entire system is safe. And I know we're pursuing that right now ourselves. And so I think that is a very positive step into standardizing what is safe, what is healthy, and what is an effective source of drinking water. And by having positive regulation and standardization like that, that's a step towards broader recognition of the technology and implementation of it as a whole. And I think that's been a hindrance historically for AWH is there hasn't been much regulation. And so it's just more of an idea that, albeit a very simple process and how it functions, most people think is just some strange little fringe unknown item. And so having regulation, having standards set for the technology is definitely a positive in the adaptation of the technology in society as a whole.
So one thing, like probably we could add this one. NSF people get confused. One is NSF and one is NSF International. And you could just say, I'm talking about the NSF International.
Yeah.
National Science Foundation is like the big government organization, but the NSF International is the one who come up with all the regulation.
Yeah.
So do you want to clarify that?
Yeah.
Just it's good. You say I meant like NSF International.
Yeah. Okay.
So like should we add that, or is it okay?
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
your explanation is enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we conclude, I would like to give you the floor to share any idea, any messages with our followers we haven't covered today. And one more thing, you were one of our sponsor for Atmospheric Water Harvesting Summit. I would like to know your idea about the summit and which part of the summit do you most think it is important for our future.
Wow. I'll start with the summit. We had an incredible experience at the summit. And
Was this your first time?
This was our first time.
Okay.
And it was the second year, our first time to be there. And speaking with my team, I said immediately, we will always be at the summit. This is just a mandatory place that we have to be. And if you're involved or interested in, or just curious about atmospheric water harvesting as a whole, you have to be at this summit. It is the best concentration of knowledgeable individuals on the subject, knowledgeable companies, exciting companies that are developing new products that I wasn't aware of, that we've already pursued partnerships with from that summit, and just a lot of passionate and knowledgeable folks involved with the association. But yeah, even as a business side, we have never had such a successful collaborative trip, just from introductions and meeting so many people that have a passion for advancing the technology and enhancing the quality of goods available in the space.
And I also like to thank you because you brought your own product. And you kept it on top of the on a table, and people could come and interact with you, and you guys were explaining how the water harvesting was happening using this machine. So it was a great opportunity for people to come and see the product.
Well, that is the biggest thing that we believe in is there are so many conceptual ideas that we see in our space, but having hardware that people can touch and feel. You know, we live in such a data-driven world now, and in this digital age, it's important for people to be able to put their hands on stuff. And so having opportunities like the summit to do that, for more people to physically engage and be a part of what we're doing. I mean, as silly as that is, just the tactile feeling of being present and getting to discuss how our products work and where we're applying them, and make new friends within the industry and share collaborative thoughts to build new products.
And we appreciate, you really keep this as a black box. You open it up for people to see all the internal component, how the water harvests in the system. So that was very nice for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for being with us and sharing those thoughts. And everyone, thank you very much. If you would like to know more about the Tsunami product, please view the website at tsunamiproducts.com, isn't it?
And
Correct.
And Typhoon too.
Yeah,
Typhoon is coming.
Yeah, and check the typhoon is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you, and please
thanks a bunch.
remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, goodbye.
Subscribe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
It was
thanks
great.
a bunch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoyed it.
Yes.
Lots of good answers. I think
Oh,
this
yeah.
will benefit.
Man, we're just flying through this.
Yeah.